privileged to be here today to share my story, to be alive to share my story because of the work done here at Women's College Hospital. In the summer of 2010, emails went like wildfire in my community about a research study that was done at Women's College Hospital. They were testing 2,000 Jewish women for a mutation in the BRCA1 or BRCA2 gene, which are associated with a higher rate of breast and ovarian cancer. I have no idea what made me participate in this study. I have no family history of breast or ovarian cancer, and to be honest, it's not something I worried about. I guess I just did it as a way of doing my part. Several months later, I received a phone call at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, if you know what a young family looks like at that time, it's pretty chaotic. My kids wanted snacks. I was trying to get dinner on the table and out the door for an after-school activity. I picked up the phone and received the news that I had tested positive for the BRCA2 mutation. Everything stopped. I thought it had to be a mistake. The very next morning, my husband David and I met with Dr. Stephen Narod and a genetic counselor when we were giving some frightening statistics. I was told that I had an 80% chance of developing breast cancer in my lifetime, compared to the average woman who has 13%. I was also told I had a 20% chance of getting ovarian cancer, when the average woman has just over 1% chance. We were given some treatment options that included surveillance, but the recommendation right then and there was to have a double mastectomy and a hysterectomy. After some thought, I opted for surveillance for my breast cancer risk and a hysterectomy in a year's time for my ovarian cancer risk. And so the surveillance began. I had my first mammogram, my second, an ultrasound, an MRI. A couple of days before my 40th birthday, I had a biopsy, all at Women's College Hospital. It was ultimately a lumpectomy that confirmed our worst fear. I had cancer. Now, I'm not usually a decisive person, but in that moment, it was very clear. I wanted a double mastectomy and immediate reconstruction. And what happened next was truly amazing. 15 days after my diagnosis, I had a full-day surgery and became a breast cancer survivor. In the fall of that year, my kids were learning about cancer through the story of Terry Fox, and I thought, well, this is a great opportunity for me to tell them why I had my surgery. So I said to my son, Tommy, who was 6 at the time, and I said, Tommy, you know, Mommy had surgery because Mommy had breast cancer. And you could see on his face that he was processing what I had just told him and comparing it to what he knew about Terry Fox. And he looked at me and he said, Mommy, are you gonna die? And I said, no, honey, I'm not. And he took my hand and he raised it up in the air like a champion and he said, Mommy beat cancer. That's when I realized that I was truly lucky to be given the gift of life for a second time. Without Dr. Narod's research study, my story would have been very different. The cancer would have been growing in my body probably until the age of 50. At that point, I would need invasive cancer research, or worse. My life could have been cut short. But my story doesn't end there. The gene mutation had to come from somewhere. And so thanks to Women's College Hospital, my parents and my siblings were tested as well. And it turns out my father tested positive for the BRCA2 mutation. With this information in hand, my father started surveillance because a man with a BRCA2 mutation has double the chance of risk of developing prostate cancer, about 20 to 25%. And these cancers tend to be really aggressive. 4 years later, his marker was slightly elevated and was ultimately discovered that he had prostate cancer. I was in the room that day when my dad was pleading with his doctor not to have surgery. He mentioned all the stories and all the men he knew that were living well into their 80s with prostate cancer, and he was not yet 70. But his cancer was different. It was aggressive. Because of the research done at Women's College Hospital, my dad's prostate cancer was caught early. Surgery was needed to remove his prostate, but he's now healthy, happy, and traveling the world cancer-free. Many people give back to their hospital to say thank you, and I think that's wonderful. But I don't think of it as giving back. I think of it as paying it forward. I have 2 children, each with a 50% chance of inheriting the BRCA2 gene mutation. By giving here, I'm giving hope to a whole new generation, a generation that includes my children. Thank you.